and thank you for coming. I do have a very special guest to introduce to you, and this is an honor, huge honor for me, to introduce an absolute legend, a socialist, a feminist, a revolutionary, and a lifelong friend and comrade of Palestine, the Palestinian people. Would you please welcome Bernadette McAliskey.
Thank you, thank you. You'd all be very surprised now if I danced or sung. That would put an end to the concert. There'd be a stampede for that back door. I think looking out at everybody tonight and remembering there's another gig happening, that the town is actually, we must have about 8,000 people at concerts across the city. And I think the first thing that we want to do is thank, first of all of you who have come, to thank these magnificent artists who have put this together. And I know that Artists for Palestine, PalFest, this isn't the first year. This is something that goes on annually and goes on around the world, but particularly fitting that it happened to coincide with the great need in Palestine at the minute. And this particular gig has inspired other artists, big and small, and there are Artists for Palestine gigs from Cork to Derry and from Dundalk to Kerry. And we need it. As it said in the songs, Bread and Roses, we have hearts as well as bodies. And our hearts have been broken this past month, looking on in seeming helplessness at what is happening in Palestine. And to quote a young 8-year-old of my acquaintance, when the adults around him were saying, we can't watch that anymore. And he said, well, if children in Palestine can suffer it, we would need to be able to watch it and talk about it and do something to stop it. So out of the mouths of babes and apples that don't fall far from trees, we do need to keep our eye on Gaza. We do need to keep our voices raised on Gaza, and we do need to keep demanding that those in government in our own country who may be slightly scared of not being there too long, those aspiring to be in government and slightly scared of wrong-footing themselves with the powerful and missing the chance, would need to know that the people of Ireland will not elect a government that cannot stand with Palestine. So don't forget that. Doesn't matter. And I know we're all struggling. I know that there's a cost of living crisis. I know the far right is rising. I know that everybody's getting blamed for everybody else's problems. But all of us have to remember, Palestine is the litmus test of our morality, of our humanity, of our decency and our conscience. Our emotional ties are kind of unconscious because our own history is so buried deep, certainly on this side of the border, because of its complications, that the half of the people don't even know why they cry. But we'll get round to that on a day when we have more time. Suffice to say that in 1915, in 1916, the colonial masters of this country made the same promise to the people of Ireland and to the people who did not want to see home rule, as they made to the people of Palestine and the Zionists of Switzerland and the United States. They promised the people of Ireland who wanted freedom that if they fought in the Great War for the freedom of small nations, they would give them freedom here. And then, with the honesty all imperialists have, they turned around to those empire loyalists and said if they went to the defense of the empire in the First World War, there would never be home rule in Ireland. Now, for people don't understand sometimes when they hear people talking about anti-Semitism, first thing that we have to understand is that Jews and Arabs are both Semites. It is anti-Semitic to be anti-Arab as it is to be anti-Jewish. But we do need to remember at all times the difference between Jewishness by religion, by culture, by ethnicity, and Zionism. One, to be a Jew, to be of the Jewish community, is self-definition or external definition by religion, culture, ethnicity. Zionism is a far-right ideology. They're two different things. And anybody who doesn't know the difference in that, have a look at what happened in this city a few nights ago. There is a difference between the disfranchised, powerless, frustrated poor and the far right winding them up. The majority of Jewish people in the world are not Zionists. And a significant number of Zionists, like Joe Biden, are not Jews. So the first thing I would ask you to do is to not tolerate any racism against Jewish people on the basis of their culture, ethnicity, or community in the midst of campaigning against Zionism. The state of Israel has a population slightly bigger than the Republic of Ireland. And the number of people in Gaza is slightly bigger than the number of people in Northern Ireland. But the people in Gaza are pushed into an area of ground that is less than half the size of Louth. So just so that we know what life is like for people. And we are witnessing a far-right ideological attempt to wipe Palestinians in Gaza, and then the West Bank will follow, off the face of the earth. To wipe the state of Palestine off the face of the earth. And to create a religious state, not for any purpose other than to provide the United States of America with a foothold in the Middle East to take on its 21st century Christian crusade against the Muslim Middle East. That's what's going on here. That's what the racism is going on here. And the financial benefit for them is oil. Is the oil that is held in the Garden of Eden, if you wanted to believe in half a dozen gods. I don't actually believe in any of them because I don't remember any of them coming to the rescue when I needed them. That's my litmus test. So, we need, as people, to stand together as decent human beings. We need to live together as working people, as common people, as ordinary people. That's what we are. My mother used to tell us middle-class people, of whom she came, were working-class people with notions above their station. She was right. There are very few people in this country who can eat if they don't work. There are very few people in this country who can't work, who could eat if they didn't have the support of the rest of the community through their taxes, through the state security to which they're entitled. But there are very few people in the world, and they're sitting away up there, billionaires and trillionaires and skillionaires and skiddly-idearios, but they run the world. They run the world. And if we don't get our act together soon and defend Palestinians, defend ourselves, stand up together against this far-right ideology that would divide us down the middle till it kills us all, we won't survive. But you can see tonight, that's not what we're made of. That's not the stuff we're made of. We can do it if we stand together. We are the decent people of the world. Our voices have to be heard. We have to make sure that our government acts ethically and correctly on Palestine. Almost everybody in this room has relatives in the United States of America. Please, if there is a God in heaven, don't let them all come home at once. There's 46.5 million of them. 46.5 million of them. Now, if you actually were a Zionist or had a grandfather, Zionist with a grandfather who was Jewish, you could go home to Israel. Now, if Joe Biden takes another notion of saying if you're a Catholic and you had a grandfather born in Ireland, 23.5 million of them are going to land here very shortly. And you can see the nonsense of it. It has to stop. It has to stop, because in the middle of that insanity, in the middle of that fundamentalism based on a folk tale that's over 2,000 years old, I didn't hear on these commandments that Moses got that it said when it come to thou shalt not kill, P.S. there's an exemption for governments, and especially one for Israel. It's not there. It's not there. So let us stand with Palestine, weep with Palestine, fight with Palestine, organize with Palestine, and sing with Palestine. Because when Biden says to Israel, we have your back today and every day, let us say to the people of Palestine, we have your back, your front, and every side, and we are with you every day, from the river to the sea, until Palestine is free. And we are not afraid. We're not afraid of the United States. They don't own us. This is not a state of Biden's USA. We will not go into war to help NATO. We will not stand with a united Europe that arms itself against the people of Palestine. We will stand with Palestine till the very last day of judgment. Thank you.